Journalist Javed Rana is with us to explore the political transition in Syria and its impact on regional geopolitics and international peace and security. Good to see you, Javed. Now, how will Syria's political transition impact the broader regional geopolitics, particularly in terms of alliances and power dynamics?
I think something big is happening, and all in a very positive shade in Damascus. And we have heard that all these Arab countries, they're happy that the new government is not going to what they consider this Arab Spring into the bordering region, bordering Arab countries. I think that has been their biggest apprehension. And that is where we have heard the new leaders of Syria. They are saying that they are pleased with the development work which is happening in Saudi Arabia and other countries, and that is the replica they want in Syria. I think apprehensions of the Arab countries are being somehow or the other allied, and they sounded to be comfortable with the new government. That is one part of it. But the other bigger shade is, I think, Turkey seems to be also comfortable now, and because it has got enough sufficient assurances from the new government that the YPG terrorists would be either hunted down or they would be dismantled or they would be politically mainstreamed in the new government, because this political transition has turned out to be very smooth against all the apprehensions, fears which were prevalent before, particularly in the Western countries, that there will be a kind of situation where the rebels, as they were being called previously, they will basically storm the minorities. Unlike that, I think we have seen that the minority groups in Syria, they turn out to be very happy. Now, bigger question here is basically about the reconstruction of new Syria. The bigger help is obviously going to come from Turkey. Turkey has hugely invested on Syria. It has invested its political capital, it has financially invested, and it intends to invest more and more than any other Arab countries. So all the material which is required for the reconstruction of the Syria, I think much of which is going to come from Turkey. But in return, Turkey wants that there should be stability in the region. There should be stability inside Turkey. Turkey should not face terror attacks as it has been facing for the last 4 decades during the Assad regime, and before that during his father's, who was also dictator, during his regime. So I think everybody is looking for a peaceful transition, which is taking place. It will certainly take time. I mean, there was a meeting of the all Syrian major political groups, major minority groups. They all have been given assurance. It seems that they are going to come up with a new constitution of Syria where everybody's rights are protected. Now, again, here bigger challenge is for the now HDS-led government, that is from within, because all these groups want Islamization of Syria. What shape would be the Islamization of Syria would be? What would be the scope of that Islamization? What would it look like? What will be the rights of the minorities? And how West is going to perceive it? These are the bigger questions. I think these are, as we speak, that is being addressed, that is being interacted. And I think in days to come, perhaps in months and years to come, we will see that Syria would be back in place as a peaceful Syria. But again, the bigger threat obviously is going to be from the aggression of the apartheid state of Israel, and we have already seen that it has conducted 800 terror attacks inside Syria. And how it would be handled, that is a bigger question. But let me also remind you here that just a couple of days ago, the U.S. delegation met with the new HDS-led government, the leaders of the HDS-led government, and apparently they were concerned about the minority rights in Syria, but behind the scene, all the information that is coming, that is nothing surprise to anyone who understands Middle East regions, politics, and what Americans have been doing. They are seeking assurance from the HTS-led government that they would not oppose apartheid structure in the occupied Palestine. Meaning thereby basically is that they would not support any freedom movement inside the occupied Palestinian territory. Somehow or the other, I think they sounded satisfied with the response from the new HDS-led government. What that specific response was, we at this particular point of time, we don't know. But again, the bigger agenda that the Americans would like the HDS-led government to pursue in Syria, that is somehow or the other would be reflected the American agenda in the Middle East. And that agenda obviously include that the apartheid state, Israel, would stay as a so-called policeman of the Middle East.
How can the international community collaborate to support Syria's political transition while maintaining regional stability?
I think to begin with, Washington is going to lift sanctions on HDS-led government. I think parts of the sanctions are going to be removed. That is in the process. I think that is going to be relief for Syria in terms of economy, in terms of uplifting its economy, in terms of giving a new Syria a new political space in the international community. I think that is a good beginning. European Union, I think I'm expecting that it would follow the suit of what Americans will do on Syria. So far as the Western world is concerned, I think we will hear more political noise that they are going to help Syria. Their help is going to be insignificant, but politically speaking, in terms of the optics that it has created, that is a positive, because those optics would help HTS-led government to get more assistance, financial assistance from the Arab countries, because Arab countries basically would not move beyond unless it gets a kind of a nod from the Washington. So to this extent, I think so far as the political sport is concerned, it seems that Europe is going to extend it, the USA is going to extend it. What will be the size and the scope of that political sport? I think it is still a premature question to address at this particular point of time. But certainly, Turkey, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, Jordan, Egypt, all these countries are going to play a very critical role in terms of reconstruction of Syria, because Syria at this particular point of time needs a lot of construction material. Turkey being closest to the border, and given the fact that Turkey has been helping Syria in a manner that no other country has helped in the region, I think Turkey's financial help, Turkey's material support in the reconstruction of Syria is going to play extremely an important role. Let's see how things unfold, but there are all positive shades that we are seeing now on the ground.
And what challenges and opportunities does Syria's political transition present for global efforts to combat terrorism and Israeli expansionism?
Well, I think obviously there is a regional terrorism, and so far as Turkey is concerned, their focus has always been, and as we have already heard, Turkish Foreign Minister, the Turkish President, they are genuinely, I think, concerned about the role of the YPG. And its linkages with the other terror group, Kurdish terror group, who've been operating on the Turkey's border region, and also in the past they also operated inside Turkey, and they've been carrying out attacks. More than 40,000 people, Turkish citizens, have been killed over the course of last four decades. That has been the lingering concern, but now we have seen some meaningful advances launched by the Damascus in terms of containing YPG's role militarily, which is, I believe, is a terrorism, and also there are some genuine attempts on the part of the new HDS-led government to mainstream all these terror groups in the political system, in the political dispensation. I think that is a likely scenario, but there is a bigger challenge here. The bigger challenge is what game Israel is playing in this region. And we know what game it has been playing. It has been supporting YPG terror groups. It has been providing all kind of intelligence. It has been providing, along with the USA, all kind of weapons to the YPG terror groups. And then under the garb of Americans have been supplying weapons that, as a matter of fact, the Americans want to contain ISL, or you may call it IS, the so-called Islamic State. There are around 10,000 prisoners who have been under the custody of YPG authorities, so-called, what they call themselves as authorities in parts of Syria. I think that is a bigger challenge, because unless that sport is somehow the other is scuttled, somehow the other, that supply of weapons, that supply, that sharing of the intelligence is not stopped, I think the terror activities of the YPG would continue. When I say sharing of intelligence, it means Israel providing sharing intelligence of the Turkish inside Turkey, where they are going to be, Turkish citizens are going to be attacked, where the Turkish security forces are going to be attacked, because it is the Israel which has an edge on intelligence network, and that has played a critical role in carrying out these terror attacks in Turkey in the past. So I think we have to see in what manner the Turkish government now manages, because Turkey, of course, it is going to call upon the USA to use its clout on the apartheid state to stop providing all kind of intelligence to the YPG group and also any other sport. The overall bigger agenda has always been that these Kurdish terror network, these groups, they want to create a new country in Syria. It's not just Syria. You know, the Kurdish population is essentially scattered in the bordering region of Iran, Iraq, Syria, and Turkey. And that was historically speaking, part and parcel of a long-term strategy of the Britain and the France to basically to let Syria, Iraq, Iran, Turkey to fight with each other on the Kurdish issue. And I think by and large, giving the devil due credit, they have managed to do that, because this issue has been lingering on for the decades. But again, now this is the high time that now there is a friendly government in Damascus. And this is the high time for the Turkey, and Turkey is using all what is at its disposal to make it sure that these terror groups are contained, and these terror groups, if possible, some of them are politically mainstreamed, so that this terror campaign which they launched for last 4 decades, that is brought to a logical end.
And lastly, how can Syria's transition process be aligned with efforts to promote lasting peace and security in the region?
Well, again, for the lasting peace and security means it is something easier said than done, because these are the splinter militant groups. It's the Syrian, what it used to be called as Syrian Defense Forces. Now they are in the government, and they have a different ideological shades. Though most of these militant groups, they want some kind of Islamic system in Syria. But again, there's a divergence of opinion. And then more importantly, I think the HTS-led government would come under pressure from within, from other militant groups, basically how to deal with the apartheid state of Israel. So far, all the vibes that we are getting from the HTS-led government, that does suggest that somehow the other, the new government is not willing to take on Israel. And the reason is quite simple. 800 airstrikes have been carried out on the military installations. Syria right now is not in a position to basically create any hostile posturing towards Israel. That is, logically speaking, is not possible. But I don't know at this particular point of time that on whether or not this government, new government, has an intent to support Hamas and other jihadi group in Palestine, because basically, Iran has taken over that Muslim cause over the period of last 4 or 5 decades, because the Arab countries and other Muslim countries have failed to provide Palestinians the kind of the support that deserve. Al-Quds Sharif is not an Iranian issue. It is a Muslim cause, and that is where the Muslim countries have been failing time and again. And that is what everybody in the Muslim countries are expecting from the HTS-led government, that they need to come out with some kind of support. If not now, maybe in the long run, when it gets stabilized, at least militarily. But again, that is something easier said than done at a time when Europe doesn't want that to happen. The Americans don't want that to happen. And I think also some of the Arab countries even don't want that to happen, because Arab countries somehow or the other want that Iran should not play a key role on the Palestinian issue. But at the same time, bigger issue is there is a crisis. Who is going to replace the role of Iran? That is a bigger missing point in the overall bigger geostrategic landscape in the region, and particularly after HTS-led government has taken over. So saying that there would be lasting peace, there would not be a bigger issue, bigger challenge, I think that is something we can hope. But seeing the situation on the ground, this is something I can say easier said than done.
Javed Rana, thank you for joining in News Hour, and thank you for your analysis.
The growing tide of anti-Israel sentiments. What you see behind me is just tip of the iceberg of what is happening in the country. More than half of $52 billion black CIA budget is spent on espionage network in Pakistan. How would you handle it?
The US has looked upon Pakistan as an ally at one point, and then as an enemy at the same time.
That is going to be the first legal reason on the basis of which he is going to be instantly ousted by the Supreme Court of Pakistan.
Joining us live, Javed Rana, who's an expert on politics and geostrategic issues.
In the world politics, which is not being driven by any moral principle, it is being driven by the hard geostrategic realities. In a broader picture, more countries would aspire to have nuclear weapons.